So good day everyone. So we are here to present to you one of the topic of stratigraphy and historical geology. So I am Stephanie Urisa Belason together with.
I am Jesslyn Leonor.
So before we proceed to our topic, we will have a game time which we will call it's icebreaker time. So let's play the game. So in this game, you will be the player, but in this icebreaker time, we will give you the questions but not the answer because we will just want you to have a background before we proceed to the topic. So after this discussion, yun yung time that you will be answered by the question will be answered. So let's start. So how to play the game? So there are three different types of this in general. So we will have the three parts. So the part one is the answer the question, the second one is the multiple choice, and the third one is the true or false. So now we will go to the part one, which is the answer the question. So answer the question. So question number one, four, where a river carries a lot of sediments into a standing body of water. So what do you think is that? May idea ba kayo? So mamaya if ano na yung question, meron dyang chess and TNT. Versus pag tama kayo, syempre you will have the chess and pag mali kayo, you will have the TNT. So sasabog kayo pag meron yan. Sa mga nag-Minecraft lovers, alam niyo yan. So the second question naman tayo. So birds put sheaf, channels streaking out like claws. So, sige po, the third question, which is the messy tidal channels, mangroves, sand, and ridges. So, siguro may mga words that you are familiar with. So, pag kinonect-connect nyo sila, so magkakaroon kayo ng idea of what topic we will be tackled. So, the next one is, so, we're above sea level with distributary channels and food chains full of sands and mud. So, ano kaya siya, no? So, next tayo. So, we're stopping into deeper water with finer sediments and wave reworking. So, the next one is the we're in quiet, deeper water, setting fine slit and clay. And next, we will going to our multiple choice, which is the part 2 of this game. So, fine mud, silk, sand, upward. So, ano kaya yan? Diyan sa apat na pagpipilian. So, meron tayo dyang tide dominated, wave dominated, fluvial dominated, and then ang ating carcening sequence. So, dyan sa apat, you will be pick kung ano yan. Fine mud, slit, sand, upward. So, next tayo. So, the second multiple choice question is, sand mud, repeating layers. So, ano kaya yun dyan sa apat, no? So, next tayo. Abandoned channel filled with mud. And the last one is, meron pa ba tayong last one dyan? So, the last part is the part 3, which is the true or false. So deltas are not important for people and nature. It's the true or false. So siguro by that question of true or false, meron na kayong idea what topic we will be tackling about, no? Then the second true or false question is, so delta help protect coastline from storms and flooding. And the last one is the fine sediment such as clay and silt is found at the bottom, and coarser sediments such as sand are found on top. So today we will presenting about deltaic environment. So which is this is the one of the most important depositional setting in stratigraphy and historical geology. So a delta is a landform created when a river carries sediments and deposits them into a larger body of water, such as sea or a lake. Over time, this deposit build up and form layer that record Earth's history. Studying deltas is important because they not only tell us the past environments, but also help us understand how land and water interact to shape our planet. So, in this presentation, we will walk you through the meaning of the deltaic environment, its sub-environments, yung how sediments are distributed, the process that shape deltas, the factors that make them different, and their characteristic coarsening upward sequence seen in the rock record. So, our presentation, punta na tayo sa what is delta. So, what is deltaic environment? So, deltaic environment, as I say kanina na, it is a landform that created when a river carries a large amount of sediments and deposit it into a standing body of water, such as a sea or a lake. As the river slows down, it loses energy, and the sediments it carries settle out of the water. So, over time, this deposit built up into a triangular or fan-shaped landform, which we called a delta. So, doon natin makikita yung delta. Then, sabi nila, ang delta daw ay mayroong mga main sub-environments. So, according to geologists' some books, deltas are divided into three main sub-environments, which we see illustrated in the following slides. So, the first one is the delta plain. So ano nga ba ang delta plain? So delta plain is found above the water level where the river splits into distributary channels and floodplains. So the sediments here are coarse to medium, such as sand and mud. So in this slide, in the one corner of the slide, you will see the aerial photo of the delta plain. So if you will be notice the branching channels spreading out to the water. So it's showing how rivers slip or split into distributaries. So the next one is the delta font. So delta font, it is a sloping part that extend into deeper water. So yung mga sediments naman dyan is more finer. So mostly fine sand and silt, and they form steeper beds because of the slope. So you will see in the image dyan that sedimentary layers is tilted downward, representing porous beds that form in the delta front. And then the last one is the frodelta. So si Prodelta naman is located in deeper and quicker waters beyond the delta front. So yung sediments naman dyan is the finest particles. So ibig sabihin, nandun yung most fine na particles. Dun din yung mostly silt and clay because only the smallest grain can travel that far. So you can see in the pictures then that sediments layering in the calm water. So it's representing the deposition in the Fradelta soup. So together, these three zones show a clear transition from coarse to fine sediments as you move from land into the sea. So now we will tackle about sediment distribution. So you will see in the sediment distribution is we will learn how sediment sizes changes seaward. So in the delta plain, as I said kanina that reverse energy is still strong. So it drops the coarse materials, mainly sand. So nag-drop siya ng mga coarse materials and the main na dinadrop niya is the sand. So sa delta front naman, the energy decreases so we find medium to find sands and silt. So in the pro-delta naman, the water is very calm so only the finest clay and slate settle. So you can see in this slide the images of rocks and coastline that shows different sediment texture. So rougher material, closer to the land, and finer materials towards deeper water. So these grain size patterns help geologists determine which part of the delta is presented when studying rock layers. So the next one is the formation of delta. So we will have the diagram of the formation of the delta. So as you shown on the diagram in the slide, so the process begins when the river enters the sea or a lake. So the river slow down, spread out, and loses energy. So this causes it to deposit sediments, and coarser sediments are deposited first near the shore. So while finer ones are carried farther out, so the river eventually split into distributaries, creating multiple smaller channels. So these distributaries carry sediments further outward, forming bars and islands in the delta. So over time, the sediments layer build up as topset beds on the plain. So foreset beds on the slope and the bottomless bed in the deeper basin. So the diagram in this slide show the process and every part of the process and every part of the diagram have a label, the river splitting, the sediment bars forming, and the layer building outward. So after we know the formation of delta, so now we will be going to the process in a delta. So process in delta. So several natural processes act together to shape a delta. So the number one is the deposition. So deposition, this happens when sediments are dropped as the river slows down. So ibig sabihin, mangyayari si deposition if the sediments are dropped dun sa river pababa ng mabagal. So, the second one naman is the reworking. So, reworking naman includes the waves, tides, and storm can rearrange the sediments, reshaping the delta structure. So, ibig sabihin, reworking happens when it have a waves, tides. So, if the waves are strong, nag-iiba yung structure ng delta. So, nagre-reshape si delta by the waves, the tides, and the storms. So, the third one naman is the compaction. So, compaction naman is over time, the weight of the overlying sediments passes the lower layers together. So, turning loose particles into solid rock. So, ibig sabihin dito kay compaction, sa pagdaan ng panahon, yung weight na nag-overlay ng sediments na pepress siya. So, nagko-compress sila dun sa layer para yung mga loose particles na nag-compress na yun, matuturn ulit siya into a solid rock. So, the last one naman is the avulsion. So, si avulsion naman ay nag-o-occur naman siya when river channels shift and new distributary channels are formed. So, changing the delta shape. So, ibig sabihin pala, si deposition at si compaction ay nangyayari to build a structure or a rock delta, but the reworking and avulsion naman they change the delta structures and the delta shape. So these slides or these processes, simple visuals with natural icons. So there are stones in this slide that reminding us that delta are not statistic but always evolving. So ibig sabihin nagbabago si delta Hindi lang porket ito yung structure or shape ni delta, hindi na siya magbabago. It can change. So we will tackle naman what makes delta steeper. So ano nga ba yung kaibahan ni delta? So sabi dyan, not all delta are the same. So their difference depends on several key factors. So we have four key factors on how the difference or how we will know the difference of the delta. So why they are not the same. So the number one is the amount of sediment supplied by the river. A river with heavy sediments load builds a large delta. Ibig sabihin, may mga delta na ah, malalaki dahil nagmumula siya sa maraming sediments na nasusupply dun sa isang river. So, ibig sabihin pala, pag malaki yung amount of the sediments na nasusupply ng river, mas bumibigat. So, mas nagkakaroon tayo ng mas large na delta. Kasi mas nakakabuo siya ng maraming delta. So, the second one naman is the energy of waves and tides, which can either build the delta outward or erode it. So, ibig sabihin, isa din sa factor kung bakit nagkakaiba-iba is the energy ng wave. Siyempre, meron tayong waves that is strong, waves na weak lang. So, ibig sabihin, nag-iiba-iba siya. Kung malakas yung alon, siguro mas mag-iiba yung structure niya, mag-iiba yung shape niya, and same as a tide. So, the third one is the changes in sea level, where rising seas can drown deltas and falling seas can expose them. So, ibig sabihin naman dito sa pangatlo is yung changes ng sea level. May tinatawag tayo na low tide and high tide. So, ibig sabihin, minsan, even in the rivers, pag yung rivers is sinabi natin high tide, which is, di ba, pag high tide is madaming tubig or mataas yung water, mataas yung sea level. Ibig sabihin, pwede dun sa mataas na sea level na water, meron siya sa ilalim na delta. So, pag naman low tide or wala masyadong water, mas na-expose yung delta kasi mas nakikita siya. Hindi siya napapalibutan or hindi siya natatakpan ng water. So the fourth one or the last one is the tectonic activity. So which can raise or lower land, changing how much space is available for sediment. So tectonic activity, when we will have the famous, which is the earthquake. So one of the factor din daw yon kung bakit nagkakaiba-iba yung ating mga deltas. And then now naman, na we know what makes deltas difference, alamin naman natin what is coarsening upward sequence. So, coarsening upward sequence is an important statistic features of delta is the coarsening upward sequence. So, ibig sabihin, importante siya na features ng delta. So, in the rock record, a delta shows a clear upward change in sediment size. So, at the bottom, sa pinakailalim ng delta, we see mud from the pro-delta. So, above that naman, we find silts and fine sands from the delta front. And then, sa taas naman, we see coarser sands from the delta plain. So, these upward patterns happen because the delta gradually builds outward into the basin, replacing finer offshore sediments with coarser nearshore deposits. So the slide shows pictures of rocks, fossils, and landscape, as you see in this slide, that reminding us that this sequence are preserved in Earth's rock layer and studied by geologists to understand past environment. So in my conclusion on this knowledge, the Deltaic environment is an important depositional setting in stratigraphy and historical geology. So we saw that a delta forms when river deposits sediments into sea or lake. It is divided into three main sub-environment, which is the delta plain, delta font, and pro-delta. So sabi din dyan that sediments are distributed from coarse near land to fine shore. So sabi din that delta are built through processes such as deposition, through working, compaction, and absorption. So their characteristic is differ depending on sediment supply, wave and tide, energy, sea level changes, and tectonic activity. So in the rock record din daw, that delta often show a coarsening upward sequence which geologists use to identify ancient Texas deposit. So as the visual in our slide, show that delta are not just geological features, but also dynamic landscape where land, water, and sediment interact by studying delta. So we learn not only about Earth's present environments, but also about its past history preserved in rocks. And now, to give you uh, more information about deltaic environment and what is type of delta and other information that you can or you need to know about deltaic environment, may I call on to present to you Miss Jesslyn Shea Leonor.
Alright, ayan. Thank you, partner. Isang masigabong palakpakan naman dyan. Thank you po. So now that we know deltas are formed where the river meets seas or lakes, let's take a closer look at the different types of deltas. They are super important because they show us how rivers, waves, and tides interact to shape the coastlines. First, we have the fluvial dominated delta. Here, river processes control everything and sediments are pushed outward into the sea, forming what's called a bird foot shape. And a great example for this fluvial dominated delta is the Mississippi Delta because it has long and narrow channels that stretch far into the ocean, like what you can see here in the picture presented in the slide. Next, we have the wave dominated delta. In this type of delta, waves constantly reshape and redistribute sediments, which smooths out the edges and creates a more rounded and fan-shaped or arcuate delta. The best known example for this delta is the Nile Delta in Egypt. The, the third type of delta is the tide-dominated delta. Here, strong tidal currents are in charge. They spread sediments in multiple directions, forming tidal channels and ridges. And the good example for this delta is the Ganges Brahmaputra Delta, which is actually one of the largest deltas in the world. After knowing these three types of delta, we will be talking about the stratigraphic characteristics. According to Sam Boggs Jr., deltas are recognized in the rock record by coarsening upward sequences. This means that the fine sediments such as clay and silt are found at the bottom and coarser sediments such as sand are found on the top. Facies associations include channel sands with cross-bedding, muddy deposits, and interdistributary bays, and clay-rich deposits in the pro-delta, evidence of the channel shifting or avulsion is also preserved as the abandoned and filled channels. Basically, rocks can tell the story of how a delta formed and changed over time, which you can see in the tree picture, a coastline, and the sediments that are formed. So, why are deltas important? Bakit nga naman important ang delta? Kasi It is important for people and nature because they provide fertile soils for farming, support diverse ecosystems such as wetlands and mangroves, and hold natural resources such as oil and gas and groundwater. They also help protect our coastlines from storms and flooding. So yeah, deltas are really valuable for both people and our nature. To summarize what I have tackled, deltas are dynamic depositional systems that form where river meet seas or lakes and are shaped by rivers, waves, tides, and sea level changes. In the rock record, they leave distinct sedimentary patterns and they are valuable for resources, ecosystems, and human use. In short, deltas are not just landforms, but they are also our life supporting systems. Now, pupunta naman tayo sa ating quiz time. Kagaya ng sinabi kanina ni partner. Alright, ayan. Quiz time na. Di ba kanina nagtanong siya about the Deltaic Environment para sa background knowledge nyo? This time, sasagutin naman natin kung tama ba yung mga naisip niyong sagot habang sinasabi niya yung mga tanong kanina. Ang players ay ang ating viewers. Alright, ayan. How to play. Meron siyang three different types ng laro. Yung answer the question, multiple choice at true or false. Ang first game natin ay ang answer the question. At ang first question natin ay formed where a river carries a lot of sediment into a standing body of water. Alright. Sa tingin nyo, anong sagot nyo dito? Kasi ako, ang sagot ko dito ay delta. Kakasabi ko lang kanina kung ano ang delta. At ang ating pangalawang question ay bird's foot shape channel sticking out like claws. Sinabi ko to kanina. So guys, dapat tama na yung sagot niyo dito. So, ang answer natin ay alright, ayan. Fluvial dominated or yung Mississippi. Next question natin ay messy tidal channels, mangroves, and sand ridges. Sinabi ko to, nabanggit din naman to ng aking partner kanina. So, dapat alam niya na ang sagot dito. Tingnan natin kung tamang naisip ng mga viewers ka dyan. Tide dominated or Ganges Bahamputra. Comment niyo po sa comment section kung tama kayo. Charot. Ang next question natin, we're above sea level with distributary channels and floodplains full of sand and mud. Anong sagot natin? Charot. Charis. Sa tingin nyo, ang sagot, after namin i-discuss yung mga information about Deltaic Environment, sa tingin nyo, ano yung sagot? Tingnan natin kung tama ang sagot nyo. Delta plane. In-explain niya ng aking partner na si Stephanie kanina. So, dapat alam niya yan. Next question natin is, we're sloping into deeper water with finer sediments and wave reworking. Tanong natin kay Dora kung anong sagot niya. Dora, anong sagot mo? Ay, corny. Ang sagot natin ay Delta Front na-discuss din ni Stephanie. Next question is, we're in quiet deeper water settling fine silt and clay. Ano raw ang ating sagot? Alright, ayan. Ang sagot natin ay pro-delta, yung pangatlong sub-main type ng deltaic environment. Next question. Ay, multiple choice na pala to guys. Mamimili kayo sa coarsening upward sequence, tide-dominated, fluvial-dominated, and wave-dominated. Ang ating first question dito is fine mud to silt to sand upward. Sa tingin nyo, ano ang sagot dito? Kasi kita naman kung anong halata na kung ano sagot. Upward. Sequence. Sequence yan eh. So, anong sagot? Eh di, coarsening upward sequence. Papalakpakan natin ng sarili. Next. Smooth fan-shaped waves spread sediment along shore. Sa tingin nyo, ano ang sagot dyan sa apat? Ito ba? Or ito? Or ito? Or ito? Tingnan natin kung tama mga naging sagot nyo. Comment nyo po sa comment section kung anong mga sagot nyo. Cherries. Ang sagot po natin ay wave-dominated delta. Kasi, wave spread. Wave spread. Kaya wave-dominated delta yan. Next, sand mud repeating layers. Sa tingin nyo, ano ang sagot? Ang tanong ang sagot natin dito ay tide-dominated delta. Very good po sa mga tumama dyan. Very good. Next question. Abandoned channel filled with mud. Ang sagot po natin dito ay yung natitira. Fluvial dominated delta. Very good sa mga tumama dyan. Sa mga perfect ang score. True or false na tayo? Deltas are not important for people and nature. Magkamali pa dito. Alright, ayan. Tingnan natin ang sagot. Sagot dito ay false. Charot. False. Kasi, sinabi ko kanina, ang deltas, they support ecosystems and nagbibigay ito sa atin ng soil for farming. And nagbibigay din siya ng resources like oil, gas, and groundwater. So it is very valuable for us people and nature. Next question. Delta help protect coastlines from storms and flooding. Ay ang Pilipinas ay hindi napoprotektahan dahil kulang sa budget. Charot. Na-corrupt na. Charot. Ang sagot natin dito ay true. Kasi yung delta, sila yung parang tumutulong para hindi lumala yung mga naging consequence ng storms and flooding. Next question natin is, fine sediments such as clay, silt, are found at the bottom and coarser sediments such as sand are found on top. Is this true or false? Comment below. Charot. Sagot natin dito ay true. Kasi sinabi na ni partner kanina. Ay, last na pala yung tanong. So, ayun. Thank you for listening and I hope marami kayong natutunan about the information na na-discuss namin and I hope nag-enjoy kayo sa aming discussion. Thank you! Again, I am Justin Shea Leonor.
And I am Stephanie Urisa de Lason.
And Together, we discuss the deltaic environment. Thank you.